Okay, hi. I'm back, sorta, kinda. All right, look, it's complicated. I don't think I've ever hit the wall that is burnout so hard in my life. Even when I took that year-long sort of hiatus back in 2021, I still have this constant lingering urge to get back to making video content against my own better judgment. And after that break was over, I was just so ready to get back to it that it actually led to some of the most prolific years of content this channel has ever seen. However, this time around, I'm just I don't even know how to describe it. I'm almost forcing myself to even make this update at this point. Not because I don't want or need to talk to you guys about all of this, but more so because doing much of anything lately has never been so difficult. It does sound worse than it is, I promise, but there's this knock-on effect of a few things that has kind of created this entire environment. A big one of those being that I want to say it seems like a lot of my favorite creators on YouTube have been going through the same thing. I've been around a long time, and since 2020, I've seen about half of all of the channels I'm subscribed to go inactive or outright quit altogether in some way. But just in the last year, that number has been cut by another half, and it's like, okay, it's not just me, right? Like, there's clearly this epidemic of burnout going around. A lot of it is the fault of YouTube itself, sure, but I also just think that the internet has never been in a more creatively oppressive place than it is at this exact moment, and it's so hard to maintain any passion in an environment like that. Especially with the horrible and unappealing promise of the future of AI and how it not only outright steals the content of hardworking individuals, but then turns around and destroys those same individuals' livelihoods and passion through shoddy algorithms that only serve to enshittify the quality of the entire product. Also, a few suits can save a few bucks by not paying someone to do it all so much better. I think people are just tired, worn down, and ultimately fed up, even if they don't necessarily realize it themselves. Just competing against the constant treadmill of maliciously incompetent decisions made by what's really a total monopoly of a website because YouTube is the only one generating more than enough money to host everything. And that's the rock and the hard place, right? Nobody can tell YouTube to take a flying leap because it's the only place you can go to. It's oppressive, it's hostile, and it's completely necessary. And web hosting, especially video content, is a prohibitively expensive nightmare for all but the biggest and most wealthy creators. The whole process is just demoralizing. It's frustrating, it's tiring, and I get why everyone feels that way because I think it finally rubbed off on me quite a bit. Even if I'm someone who isn't as beholden to the algorithm as much as everyone else. This isn't a livelihood I depend on to pay my bills. But it is a passion project, and for a while now, I just haven't had a lot of that. Not that my want to create is completely gone, it's just been sort of redirected. While I haven't been recording any videos since October, I've written more than 200 pages of a novel I'm working on, and more than 6 or 7 dozen pages of scripts for potential future videos. So it's not like there's nothing there, it's just this that's been hard. Recording my voice, wanting to make content of this nature. And I think a big part of that is because of this overall sense of collective burnout all around me. Because I don't know about other people, but I am inspired by other people in a sense. When I see some of my favorite creators making really damn good content, it motivates me too. It makes me want to truck along and push myself and see what I can do next. And the partial absence of that driving force has affected me quite a bit, for sure. But I am of the mind that I just need to get back into it again for it to start to feel natural, if that makes sense. Of course, I'd be remiss to not mention the fact that life has been in a pretty bad place for me lately. Not that I'm not personally doing okay, but more so that it's been more of a conscious effort than ever to make concessions for myself in order to not let certain things drag me down. That video that I put out in October that I promised I wouldn't talk about in detail but would allude to on occasion was kind of the final culmination of everything that's been ruling my life these past few years, and I think releasing that was simultaneously like this huge, heavy weight on my chest finally being lifted and tossed aside, but also it just kind of sucked what little remaining wind I had in my sails. And I'll cop to the fact that I've been on this downward spiral pretty much from the time I even contemplated abandoning variety content almost 2 years ago. I could only ignore it for so long, and I think everything just kind of came together all at once in a way that just left me unbelievably emotionally spent. So, I'm sorry for all the time that's been taken, and the remaining time that this will continue to take, but the comeback is in view, I promise. However, in doing so, I'm going to take a pretty different approach with uploading videos this time around. Yes, I'm making changes again, but I want to instantly address some potential concerns. First of all, I'm aware that I have like 5 Let's Plays all on hold right now, and yes, I intend to finish those. I'm also not doing Let's Plays anymore. In fact, in a roundabout way, I'm kind of leaning into them harder than ever before. However, I do not know exactly when I'll be getting back to uploading videos again, and there's a few reasons for that, which will all make sense, at least I hope, when I tell you all exactly what I'm working on and how I plan to do it. First things first, let's talk the Let's Plays. My top priority before really doing anything else is to see all these Let's Plays through. Pokemon White 2 and Pikmin 2 just need to be edited in full. Destiny is basically the same, however, I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do about the raid videos for the Final Shape expansion when I get to that, because I haven't been able to actually find a group to record that with. There's a possibility I'll end up just borrowing other people's footage, which I would really hate to do. Of course, I'd be crediting them in full, but this is looking like it might be the one raid I won't be able to actually record myself. So that's like the one thing that might still need to get done. I don't know yet. Then we have Super Mario Galaxy 2 and Ghost of Yotei, and yeah, I'm nowhere close to finishing those. Those are still very much in their early stages, just on the recording front, but those can all wait until everything else is done. There's also a Secret 6th Let's Play that I have like 80% done. And yeah, all of those Let's Plays remain a top priority. It's just that the release schedule is changing again, and this time it's pretty significant. For most of the years that I've run this channel, juggling multiple Let's Plays at once for the sake of variety has been the defining motivator behind my upload schedule. I always keep a Let's Play going for personal and selfish reasons, then I try to break it up with something I know more people would be interested in watching, and the past few years especially, I will sprinkle in some Pokemon in there, since that's also a big series people come to this channel especially for. It keeps everybody happy, someone's always interested in something, but the sacrifice for this schedule is twofold. The first, obviously, being that Let's Plays take a much longer time to conclude than normal. When I'm only uploading 1 or 2 parts a week, that Let's Play can drag on for months longer than it would otherwise, up to and over a year past its usual due date. It just means that, while yes, there is a lot of variety, it takes a very long time for me to move from game to game, and I'm usually spreading myself so thin that I personally experience the game myself in far apart chunks, weeks or even months apart. This can lead to kind of disjointed recording sessions at times, except in special cases where I'm able to get through the entire Let's Play in 1 or 2 sittings, but this usually only applies to shorter games. The second issue is that in doing this, I personally feel like I'm treading water more, trying to juggle each series and keep my head up, rather than hyper-focusing on one project at a time, which is what I really should be doing. My past rationale for not doing this was that I felt as though in certain cases I would burn out on a series faster, making it hard for me to complete that Let's Play, but that's not really a valid excuse. There are other ways around this problem, and that's what I'm hoping to tackle with these changes. So, with that in mind, for the first time in a very long time, I'm going to be returning to a one-at-a-time Let's Play format, meaning when a Let's Play begins, it'll be uploaded daily until it's finished. No exceptions, no excuses. The catch here, however, is the gaps in between. These are going to be nebulous and undefined, allowing myself room for a break when I need it. The goal here is for this to never happen, of course. When one Let's Play ends, I would very much love to have the next Let's Play ready to go right away, but I can't make any promises in this regard anymore. Sometimes there'll be breaks. Sometimes I'll just stop uploading for a while. I'm done trying to satisfy the YouTube algorithm by obsessing over my daily upload schedule at the detriment of my own mental health. So I can at the very least promise that there won't be breaks in the middle of Let's Plays anymore. But I can't promise that something will always be happening, because this is also in the service of something else that I want to do more of, but I'll talk about that in a second. As far as my Let's Plays are concerned, I still have a lot left to do. In fact, speaking of all of that lot left to do, I'm now going to point you to a Google spreadsheet that I've made that's basically nothing more than a list of every single video game I have on my radar, play again, or for the first time in some fashion that I haven't already Let's Played on this channel. This is essentially a revamped version of that same list that I alluded to in past Let's Talks. I'm going to put it in the description as well, and this should stay up and publicly viewable from here on out. I'll also have a link to it in the channel description for you guys to reference to at future points. And I'll probably end up just posting it in video descriptions from here on out, sort of at the bottom for people to look at. But it's relatively simple in its execution. Now, for anyone with a keen eye, you might notice, if you remember really, really well, there is one game on this list that I technically have Let's Played in full before, but I had to delete it for technical reasons. If you can guess what that is in the comments, bonus points to you, I guess. Everything else is just something I want to make something out of, to experience for myself. This list is by absolutely no means finalized in any way. I could and almost certainly will add more, but I can say with confidence that if there's a really well-known game that isn't on this list, it's pretty unlikely that I'll ever Let's Play it. So if you're asking about some of the big AAA games and you don't see it on there, just forget it. Lesser known games, retro games, and future releases are the ones that I wouldn't count out of me possibly adding to the list at some point. There's also the if-then column. That is basically, hey, if I let's play the first game on the list, I will then move on to that one. Most of those are just sequels, like, hey, I beat this game. All right, time to look at the sequel afterwards. But in a couple cases, there are some weird ones. Those make sense to me, and if I ever get around to it, I'll explain why. But that's pretty much the purpose of that column. And as for the platform on those lists, that is just the platform that I own that video game on. And it's not even necessarily the only platform I own that video game on, but it's the one that's the most accessible to me. Now, all of that said, this is a huge list because it's almost triple the number of games I've Let's Played on this channel in the 15 years I've been on YouTube. I want to say right now that there are a lot of games on here that I do intend to play, but they might not make the cut for a Let's Play for one reason or another. That's where some of the other content I have in mind comes into play, and that's what I want to talk about next. Okay, as a sort of proof of concept, I have exactly 2 ways of going about this next plan in mind, and I hope to demonstrate both of these soon. This is probably the biggest reason videos aren't about to return immediately. I've been wanting to take part in putting together game reviews and retrospectives for many years now, mainly as a way of flexing my writing ability, but not in a way that dominates the mission statement of this channel. There are 2 ways I want to go about this. The first of these is a sort of soft revival of Quick Reviews, which is a series I did all of 2 episodes of back in 2022. This is where I took just a few minutes to review a trio of games in a pretty succinct format. Almost too succinct, as in only a couple of minutes spent on each game. I think I'd like to expand this a little more to somewhere closer to 5 to 7 minutes on each game, actually going over my core issues, complaints, and praises for each game, with all 3 games wrapped up in about a total of 20 minutes. This is exactly where I want to relegate pretty much every game that doesn't or wouldn't work as a Let's Play, and in some cases, even games I plan to make Let's Plays of later, I just need to talk about them immediately. Case in point, I already have the first script written and ready to go, and that's for 3 games I finished playing over the break. 2 of those being games that came out this past year. One of them is a game I absolutely adore, so much that it's actually my personal game of the year for 2025, but one that is such a non-linear, confusing, and complicated type of game that it is just a horrible idea for the format of a Let's Play. It's part of why I love the game, but it would just never work in that way. The other is a game I wanted so badly to love, and I just ended up absolutely hating it, but managed to complete it anyway. It's these sorts of games that I would commit to this format. A format that'll be uploaded, I guess, semi-regularly. I wouldn't expect it too often. I have like 4 episodes worth of reviews in mind at this exact moment, but given that that's comprised entirely of games I played during my hiatus, this is kind of an unsustainable pace. All I can say is I would like to post something like this every now and then. Now for the other type of review, the second type. I'll just go ahead and call it what it is. The name of this series is 10 out of 10. I think you can get a pretty good idea of what the gist is just based on the title. But the idea is to finally go about my own way of creating long-form video essay-style content in a way that makes sense to me and works with my style. I'm itching so badly to get at least one of these made as soon as possible as a sort of proof of concept, like I said, and we'll see how that goes. That said, this kind of video is going to take me an incredibly long time to put together. I would expect no more than 1 or 2 of these a year at the most, if even that. These are the types of videos I'll be trying to work on in the background as much as I can, but with no promises of anything anytime soon. These also might contribute to those gaps between Let's Plays at times, because I can only do so much at once. I know for a fact this first video is going to delay my getting back to Pokemon White 2 videos, but the sooner I get this stuff made, and the sooner you can all see it for yourselves and judge whether you even like it or not, the better. Let's Talks. Those are done. I'm not even going to attempt to put those out once a month anymore, not that it was really a regular thing for the past year, but it's gotten to the point where I feel like I make those updates for the sake of making them. From now on, I'll only post updates when I absolutely need to. I will return to posting monthly calendars when I'm ready, but that's going to take some time as well, and obviously those are going to be even more simplified with the lack of variety in the upload schedule. And then, I guess there's just the last big thing to discuss, and that's the channel's identity. I think, personally, it's way past time to change the moniker here. I know I've said it many times, but I don't really have an attachment to the branding for this channel that I came up with when I was a dumb high schooler, no matter how long it stuck around for. It was made very short-sightedly in response to just what I saw around the general YouTube landscape at the time. A lot of people had their favorite Pokemon in their username, and or random sets of numbers and whatnot. And yeah, that was 2010, 2011. Now things are completely different, and I'm kind of over it. I want my channel to be more personal in its identity, more of a title than a name. In fact, I'd rather just be called by my actual name than anything else. I've gone over a few ideas in my head, and I think something like Levi Plays is too cliche or simple. Something along the lines of like addressing the style of what this channel is more important to me. A channel name that I floated around is Let's Play the Old Way. Another is Levi's Game Room. And a third is the artist formerly known as Squirtle. Okay, that last one's a joke. But I think you get the gist. These are ideas in progress, things I'm working on to have ready by the time I get through all of the current series. I'm hoping that when Ghost of Yote and that Secret 6 Let's Play are finally done, that it'll be time to move on, to change things once and for all. I'm open to ideas, to criticism, and I'll certainly float more ideas later before I finalize anything, but this is the last change I'm making, and one way or another, it is happening before I'll be all the way happy with this channel. This channel, that's a big part of me, and the longer I've been away from it, the more I felt myself spiral in ways I didn't think that I would. It's always sort of been like this steady hand that just keeps me going and motivated, and I don't want to lose the tether, that rock that I have, even if it just means having to someday move away from YouTube in some fashion when this site finally collapses under the mountainous weight of so many bad decisions. I definitely don't know where I'd go at that point, but I'm sure I could figure it out. It's just hopefully that's a ways down the road yet. I'm not done with any of this, not anytime soon, so I just want you guys to know that I really appreciate your viewership and participation, even if it's just a passing glance, and I appreciate it so very much. Videos aren't going to instantly start up tonight or tomorrow. It'll take a while for me to get everything ready again, but once we're off, I really hope you'll all continue to enjoy. Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.